Hey, so big shout out to Paul J. Haran for posting this. He basically posted all of the different Spurs lineups and displayed which ones were the most effective versus which ones were the absolute worst.
I want some nasty. Are we having fun yet?
All right, guys. So we're going to take a look at what our boy here posted. And as I said, please follow him on Twitter. Apparently he follows me, so that's really cool. So follow Paul J. Haran on Twitter, because I'm sure this took quite a bit. There's quite a bit of effort put forth right here for the benefit of the fan base. Now, before we look at this, real quick shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this video. I'm a very simple man. All right, we got the Milwaukee Bucks, Indiana Pacers coming up. What I'm going with, I'm going to risk 25. I already put it in there, 25, and the winning is 45. I think the Milwaukee Bucks will win. That's just me. That's my thoughts on that. But hey, if you have a different take, please head on over to BetUS. Link in my description. Use the link in my description, as I always say, and get your game on. Or here's another option, okay? Here's another option. If you're not sure, if you're very unsure, all right, and you're like, I don't know what I don't know, clan. I don't know what I'm going to pick. Just head on over to BetUS TV, scroll on down, and you can go to one of their channels called NBA Picks and Predictions. And these are very, that was loud. These are very specific games, prediction, game analysis. And if you don't want to play at all, that's totally cool. Like, that's totally fine. Just head on over there, subscribe, just for the content alone. All right, let's take a look at what he has here. So, he says here he wanted to confirm his own personal agenda eye test combo. So let's see. So right off the bat, I'm letting you guys know this right now. I did not read any of this. I glanced here. I glanced at the first, and as soon as I saw some takeaways down there, I just immediately stopped watching, because I did not want any biases on my part. So let's go ahead and look at this pretty blindly. I glanced at it, but I want to actually take a look at it. So starting off, we can just look at what's the best lineup and what was the worst lineup. So keep in mind that games played, it goes all the way down to 7. And me personally, I feel like even if you're doing per 100 possessions, 7 games, 8 games together, that might not be enough for us to make a good assessment of what that would look like. Like, that could have been really great at that time, but you know, obviously a little bit more playing together as maybe the season goes on a little bit longer, it gets a little tougher. And also some of these lineups, I'm sure, were lineups that were early into the season, right? Super early into the season that could have gotten better even if we, you know, stuck with them. So that's just some things to keep in mind. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Let's see. So best lineup was Trey, Devin, Keldon, Jeremy, Wemby. Obviously, this is the one that Pop went with a lot to kind of end games. And they did play fairly well together. As much as I trash Keldon Johnson for his defense, which it is bad, it's bad, it's really bad. I will say that when he's out there with Devin, Jeremy, and Wemby, that kind of masks it a little bit. You know, he's pretty decent at catch and shooting at times, so that can really help. But I feel like the driving force here, and we'll see if my biases are true, but my driving force here are Trey and Devin when they're together, because they really help out Wemby. That's just my 2 cents as far as these lineups go. Now, I love Jeremy, but I don't think Jeremy has the same level of chemistry offensively with Wemby as Devin has with Wemby, or even as Trey. But Trey is just like a decent point guard, right? Like a good point guard. Like that's why he would have a good chemistry with Wemby. But Devin and Wemby, I feel like they've grown the most offensively, while Jeremy and Wemby grown the most defensively. But plus and minus is everything, right? So we can't just focus in on one aspect of the game. Moving down, you see we got Julian in the lineup with Jeremy, Wemby, Devin, Trey. Obviously, Julian doesn't bring the most offensively, but he is in the lineup due to defense. And we can see here that's 37 games played, 3.9. So it's still a plus. All right, still a plus. But just go ahead and jump down to the worst. So the absolute worst, I don't know if you guys can see it, but we got Trey, Malachi, Keldon, Jeremy, and Wemby. I'm going to assume anytime, not to say Malachi's a bad player, okay? Malachi is not a bad player offensively, but I'm going to go ahead and make the assumption Malachi is probably like the the factor that's making this pretty bad, right? So let's see. If we just go, this is probably how we should do it. This is probably the best way to do it. Let's just go from player to player. So the ones with Trey in the lineup, let's see, they vary quite a bit. You have one here that's literally minus 45.1. What the heck? Plus minus of negative 45 plus 1. So if Trey doesn't have Wemby, it's bad? Is that what I'm getting from? No? Well, this one with Zach isn't bad. So, all right. So Malachi. Okay, maybe we need to focus in on Malachi. All right, so Trey is pretty decent. Most of the ones he's in, it's fine. But let's see. When we put Malachi in the mix, you got negative 54, negative 2.9, 1.7, negative 13.3 with Malachi point guard, negative 15 with Malachi, negative 45 with Malachi. And then he's not in these lineups. Oh, no, he's in this one too. Negative 31.1 with Malachi. My God. Okay. So a lot of people that were bashing Malachi, maybe rightfully so. But once again, he's in his second year. I'm not going to sit here and just like talk down about him or anything like that. Like offensively, he has a lot of promise. And he did start playing better defensively as the season went on. In my humble opinion, I thought he did. So maybe a big chunk of this is early on. Like Malachi, Keldon, Jeremy, Wemby, and Zach, that was not a thing late in the season. So these are probably early on matchups that were just horrendous. Same with this one happened. I feel like this one happened more than 8 games, but I guess not. So Trey, Malachi, Keldon, Jeremy, and Wemby. So I don't know. Anyways, moving on up. Let's see. Anybody else that stands out? Devin. I feel like it's just going to be a mixed bag. I don't think we have to focus on Devin. Like, obviously, he's one of the best, second best offensive player on our team. Like, yeah, it's going to go either way, just depending on who's next to him. Keldon. So, Keldon, you guys know I'm not crazy about Keldon. I don't think that he's a bad player by any means. But as far as needing, like, higher IQ players, there's so many times where he has tunnel vision. He's one of those players where you just have to watch the game, because at the end of the game he could have like 25, 26 points and you're like, whoa, he did great. But then when you actually watched it, you saw how those points came about, and it was like, oh, okay, that's not good basketball, right? Like it might have been good for anecdotally for a game or two or here or there, but as far as long run, it's not going to be sustainable, and it's going to be games where he really screws up. That's just how I view it, right? It's the whole ideology of making sure you pass for the best shot available. If you're not doing that, maybe you did make a shot on 2 people or 3 people in the game, but you're not going to be able to sustain that all the way throughout the season, especially if you're making the playoffs. So, but anyways, so he's probably gonna be a mixed bag too, I would assume. But let's see. So yes, plus 21, minus 8, minus 31.1. But once again, that's with Malachi. Negative 3. That's with Malachi. Negative 18. That's with Malachi. I think that's with Malachi, right? No, that's not with Malachi. That's with Jeremy at point guard. Okay. Okay. It's kind of a mixed bag with Keldon. It's kind of a mixed bag. Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. Anyways, moving on. Let's see. Anyone else we want to focus in on? We don't even have to care. We don't care about Wemby, right? We don't care. Who cares about Wemby? We all know. Zach is probably one that we need to focus in on. So Zach as center, I feel like was horrendous this entire season. So we can see here. So Zach at center, we got negative 31, negative 2.7, negative 45, negative 18, negative 15, negative 2.9. And I'm trying to see which one of these have. Okay. Quite a few of them have Malachi in the lineup as well. So maybe that's kind of the standout right here. Oh, you guys remember this one? Oh, gosh. Trey, Malachi, Keldon, Jeremy, and Zach. Wait, no, not that one. This one. Trey, Devin, Keldon, Zach, and Wemby. Actually 19, which is pretty surprising. Another thing that's pretty funny too that I find. Well, actually, hold on. That's not what I was looking for. Okay, this is Wemby as center. Okay, no. I think this is the one I was looking for when I was trying to look at Wemby at power forward. Okay, yeah, this is the one we knew about. All right, so this is like starting off in the season. So we had Jeremy at point, Devin, Keldon, Wemby, Zach, -18. Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, because I was like, that 19 seems kind of crazy. Okay, -18. This lineup was pretty terrible. And I find this funny because early in the season, or some of the arguments that we're hearing now against Wemby being Defensive Player of the Year is that him early on, he struggled so much. In actuality, you know, a lot of times Wemby wasn't even on like the best defensive player earlier in the season. He was running point for or power forward for the longest, and he didn't really shine until we were able to just go ahead and screw it, move him to center, right? Like that's when he really started to shine. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So anyways, my takeaways here is Trey, Devin, Jeremy, Wemby, gonna be a mixed bag just because depending on who's out there with them. Keldon's not as bad as I thought, also a mixed bag. Malachi, horrendous. Zach, horrendous at center. But yeah, those are my takeaways. Let's see. All right, now we're gonna look at what Paul J. Haran had to say. Oh my goodness. Okay, I really appreciate your effort. I'm just going to read some of this. Some takeaways. If you guys want to read the rest of it and check it out, like I said, go follow PJ Haran on Twitter. Yeah, go do that. Actually, I probably should do that. There we go. I did it. All right, let's see. Some takeaways. Any combo of Trey, Devin, and Wemby is good. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because like I said, Trey plays off of Wemby well. Devin and Wemby has great chemistry offensively. So yeah, okay. Our three best lineups feature Keldon. I don't know if I would use that one because I mean, three of our best lineups also feature Devin, and three of our best lineups also feature Trey, and three of our best lineups also feature Wemby. I don't know. I don't know if Keldon's like. I don't know. That's fine though. Most lineups with Malachi aren't great. Yep, it was terrible. Most lineups with Zach aren't great. Yeah, it was terrible. Zach at center in particular is terrible. Zach at power forward apparently was decent. Like, yeah, he was decent. That was fine. That was 19. Yeah, that was fine. But like, yeah, he's just not a center. He's just not a center. Very similar to the whole Julian Champagny thing where people say he's trash. And I'm like, he's just out of position. Like, not as far as like the position he's playing. Small forward is fine. Small forward, shooting guard, that's fine. But more so, he needs to not be in the starting lineup. He needs to come off the bench, right? And then Zach Collins, he's a power forward, right? He's not, yeah. Anyways, Malachi or Jeremy at point guard isn't great. Didn't notice that. Let's see. Jeremy, yeah, we mentioned the Jeremy at point guard. That was terrible early on. Man, that's just such a tough one to like really hone in on because while it was pretty bad, it's not like he was point guard for a super long time. Like he wasn't point guard for a super long time. And I think he did grow, but he got much better once he got moved back to his power forward position and whatnot. So that's fine. Oh yeah, he's right. Cause look, Malachi, -31 at point guard, -13 at point guard. So you have a good enough sample size of Malachi running point and what comes from that. But once again, just a sophomore. A lot to learn there. So once again, guys, big shout out to Paul J. Haran for posting this. This is great, like for the Spurs community. I love stuff like this. But anyways, let's go and get out of here. Big shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this video, and let's bounce, man.
BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer: a 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.